Okay, I'll call the Administration and Finance Committee meeting to order for Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. Ms. Grillo, if you'll call the roll, please.
Malinowski.
Here.
McBride. Here. Livingston.
Here.
Joe Walker.
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next order of business is number 2, approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Grillo?
Malinowski.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Joe Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Number 3, approval of the agenda. Any changes to that?
No,
Mr.
Mr. Chair.
Administrator?
No, sir.
No. Ms. Grillo? No.
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none. I'll
Approval. Second.
a motion and a second. Any conversation? Hearing none. Ms. Carrillo?
Malinowski.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Joe Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Items for action. The first one is number 4A, Department of Public Works Solid Waste and Recycling Articulated Dump Truck.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion in a couple seconds. I'm going to ask a couple questions here first. And that is, well, I agree, we need a new one of these 30-ton articulated dump trucks. My question is, I only saw a source well agreement for a Caterpillar piece of machinery when I know there are 3 other major brands such as John Deere, Komatsu, and Volvo. Did anybody get a source well quote on those 3 pieces also? Turn his microphone up, please.
I got it now.
There you go.
I am not familiar. The county fleet manager, he did provide this source well quote for us. I can't speak specifically as to if he did look at the other vehicles.
Okay.
Mr. Malinowski, let me just clarify for
Yeah.
the procurement process. This is a cooperative agreement. So we're purchasing off of a cooperative agreement, which allows for this type of thing to happen. So that's why you're looking at this particular vendor versus another vendor, sir. Thank you.
I understand that, Administrator Brown. However, I did my research on it after I got this information and found out that a Volvo 30-ton articulated dump truck, which many individuals have said they'd rather have, it could be a personal opinion like suits or shoes, but that Volvo that's equivalent to this piece was $58,000 less in cost on the source well contract. And when you take the tax on that dollar amount of savings, you're looking at another $4,000 or approximately $62,000 less for a piece of equipment that will do what we want it to do and is considered one of the better brands out there. So I would like to have this particular item researched a little more. I don't want to hold up the purchase of it. I'd like to see, is it possible to get that quote that I'm referring to so that when it gets to council, we have that information?
I'm sure that is possible, sir. If I might add a couple of points to that, I think one of the issues with the CAT truck that we were talking about, that is a local vehicle here in Columbia that is available for immediate delivery. And we currently own the Volvo truck, and I may have a differing opinion when it comes to that machine and that compared to a Caterpillar brand. We do have issues with parts. That is a machine that's manufactured elsewhere. We have an extensive dealer network here for Caterpillar, and they would be available to service that warranty period while the machine is under warranty. I think some of those factors were involved in making that determination that this would be the best machine.
I'd like you to find that out for sure, please, because while you're saying parts and all, we're looking at a 20-year-old vehicle here that we now own.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that parts are available for these when they're bought new. They have warranties as well. So I'd like to make sure that we're not spending more than we should. If we can get a comparable vehicle with the same offerings for roughly $60,000 less, I think we should do that. So
Certainly will.
Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Chair, so we don't have to hold this item up. I'd like to make a substitute motion to my motion, and that is that we forward this to council without a recommendation and get the information that you're requesting.
Second.
Here a second. I've got a second. Okay. Motion and second. If there's no further discussion, hold on, Ms. Mackey.
Thank you. Just for clarification on what it is that you're asking for. So you're saying that you don't want to accept staff's recommendation. You want them to go back and look at a particular model, just Volvo, and find pricing? Or
They
you
can look
saying,
at all three of the other main ones, John Deere, Volvo, and Komatsu.
and we're saying that they have not done this already? We're asking them to go do this again? I was under the assumption this was already completed. Is that not the case?
I was given the answer that we don't believe that was done, that they only looked locally at the Caterpillar one.
No, sir, if I may clarify, what the county fleet manager, I cannot speak on his behalf.
That's right.
And I don't want to say that he did or he did not research those options. I was just providing the information he provided to us as what may make the Caterpillar an attractive option.
He does, if he did do the research, he can bring that back with a motion Mr. Livingston made.
And I'm sorry, just one more thing. And so I guess I want to clarify, you're asking staff to go back, find the research and bring it back to us. But then also you're going to provide information as to what staff already did as to justify this recommendation. And the goal is you're trying to find a cheaper price, but are we jeopardizing the quality of what we're purchasing by getting a cheaper price?
I was told we are not. I was told that these two pieces of machinery are compatible with each other.
And was that by a staff member or who?
It was by a private construction person.
Was that name provided to our staff or who is this private construction person?
I made the inquiry. I made the inquiry of somebody I knew that was very familiar with this type of equipment. And that's the answer I got, and that's why I brought it up. If they said $5,000, I'd have said, forget it. But at 60 grand, hold on, I've got Ms. McBride and then Mr. Joe Walker.
I would just like to add, Mr. Chair, if we look at that and we find that the prices are lower and that they're providing the same type of machinery that we want, is it possible, because this is like a sole source bid, right? This is like a sole source contract that we're requesting now.
Yes, ma'am.
So is it possible to negotiate with them once we look at the differences in the cost?
I believe under the Sourcewell contract, like other cooperative collective agreements, that the negotiated price is built into the price that's offered. There is a discount for government buyers, and I believe that is the price they provide you.
I was wondering if you showed the differences in what they're requesting versus what the others may be asking, that there may be room for negotiation.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain, but it could be an option. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Mr. Walker.
Hey, Mr. Chair, my question is for the administrator. Just as far as standard operating procedure for a fleet manager, would our process have included the process that's being contemplated here by council? Simply, it's not visible to council, but it's integrated into the process of what he does.
The short answer is yes.
Thank you. I withdraw my second to Mr. Livingston's motion.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Carrillo?
Malinowski,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Joe Walker.
Aye.
Mackey.
No.
Motion approved.
Okay, item number 4B, Department of Public Works Engineering Division, Summit Ridge / Summit Parkway Project, pages 23 to 27. Administrator Brown?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Staff does recommend the award of this rehabilitation of Summit Parkway as listed in your packet. The award amount is $2,114,000. And what I want to point out to you specifically, if you notice, that this award is funded through a grant from the County Transportation Committee. We know that as the CTC. And it is within the bid amount, the price that we have here. And if that additional information is also in your packet. And so we do ask that the committee award this as listed. And again, that details of that on page 23, that the bids that were submitted and the bid opening and all that detailed information is there. We do have staff on hand to take questions, but staff recommends approval.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Administrator,
Sir.
how do these items get to the CTC, number one? And as a tag along with that, who determines what projects go to CTC to request grant funding?
I can provide this committee with a full packet. I believe the delegation has a process that goes through, I forgot what the title is, but at the time it was the former person was James Brown, who also worked as the VA. But there's a thick packet. All that is portioned out as a function of that. So that's not a county decision. That's specifically under that process.
That's what I mean. We don't get any decision. They tell us.
Sure.
Okay, I'm fine. Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Ms. Carrillo?
Malinowski.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Water needs in Richland County through the American Rescue Plan funds.
Are there additional funds that help with water needs of the district?
There actually are other funds out there, and someone could certainly use, I think we did, remember, did we do water again? There are other funds. I can't remember if we did another pot of water money, but there are other water funds out there in the community, both at the state level and the federal level.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Administrator Brown.
Yes, sir.
Page 28, under additional fiscal budgetary matters to consider, it says the cost of engineering services for design and construction oversight, $214,000 plus. That's not the building of it, correct?
That's the design.
Right. Somebody going to come back later on and ask for more money to build it? And if so, what's that dollar amount?
Within the $2 million.
It'll be within that?
That's
because
correct.
when I look at page 29, I see all these figures. The committee recommended allocating funds as follows. Is this in one of those larger amounts, the 2 million?
The 2 million was a separate pot that was approved.
Okay, so that's not showing here for us then.
No, sir. That was just information that was provided at the time when the county was going through a lot of conversations about how it was affecting the community in its expenditure of American Rescue Plan dollars.
Okay, so the cost is going to have to stay within that 2 million after we spend that other.
It is staying within the 2 million. Yes, sir.
Okay. And while it says that the current tank can't be out of service for maintenance due to lack of redundancy, I mean, I've done a lot of travel and seen a lot of water tanks, but I never see a second one next to it. Is that something that we're now doing? Does that mean every time if we decide to build a water tank, we got to build a second one?
I would not say that, but I would ask that we consider that we're talking about the Lower Richland community where water and sewer were one of the things that the county was trying to address. These funds have allowed us to begin to address that, which will potentially allow that particular community to have a better shot at future water expansion if the county goes their way. Right now, as you're aware, part of the water that we deal with is water that comes from the city of Columbia. So there's a lot of opportunities here for that community to be served with both water and sewer, and this is our water part that we're addressing.
Okay, and on the last page 30, where it says attachments and scoring summary provided under separate cover, contract provided under separate cover. I don't have them, so I'd like somebody to get those to me, please. Put them in with my next package if you want.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Carrillo?
Malinowski.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Joe Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item 4D, Department of Public Works Engineering Division, Little Jackson Creek Up Ditch Improvement Project. Administrator Brown.
Yes, sir. This particular item or the name may sound familiar, but staff is recommending approval from County Council to award the construction contract for the Little Jackson Creek Up Ditch project, specifically RC 536B23 to North State Environmental, Inc. In the amount shown in your packet. There is a contingency request there as well. This project is funded by the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And so we do recommend approval and ask that this committee consider that recommendation.
Motion to approve.
Livingston,
Second.
I'll second it. Yeah. That contingency, that's any reason why that seems so high? Is the $152,000, in a $752,000 budget?
So, Mr. Chair, what I'm going to do is related to that specific item. I'm not sure if I can give you that answer right offhand, so I'm going to ask staff to assist me with that. It may be with just dealing with current cost that they're potential addressing, but I'm going to have staff address that, sir. If they may be recognized, Mr. Malinowski.
yes, sir. Director Maloney, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The total amount of the project would be the $904,487. The contingency with this nature of a project, putting these multiple pools in the sandy soils will require us to have a contingency on hand, but that amount is what is approved and funded by the federal grant share and the CDBG state grant for that matching amount. So it was an amount that came in. The contingency does become the headroom because of the good price we did receive on this rebid project. And we believe that we may need that for the various incidentals that would come up in the project. But as it would be, we'd be managing away from that and trying to bring the project in at $752,000. The grants will cover that entire amount.
This one you got at least 6 bids on. I think there's a lot of bids on this one, though.
Yes, sir. This project was rebid. It did come in over the grant amount by a considerable amount. We did take this one back to the drawing board with the consultant and ask for value engineering on the project. It did come in with more bidders. Stormwater staff did do a lot of outreach on this to consultants in the local area to make sure, and contractors, to make sure we did have a good bid turnout.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Carrillo?
Malinowski,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Joe Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item number 5A, items for discussion, direct the county administrator to look into what it will take to have Richland County CASA receive state funding to operate the way that all other CASA groups in the state do with state funding. Richland County should not be excluded from something that is provided to all other counties by the state. You look at page 43, it gives us an update. If you look at the last sentence of the second paragraph, where it says the proposed legislation would need a fiscal impact statement, which would include how many employees RCCASA has and its operational expenses to project the state allocations. And in the last paragraph there where it says this process would start July 1, 2024, take approximately a year to complete. If the 2024 budget is amended to include RCCASA, this process could begin on July 1st, 2023. Administrator Brown, would it be possible to get into that fiscal year 24 budget amended to include that group or not, to start the process July 1 of 2023?
So this information was provided to us, Mr. Chair, and based on this information, we believe that what was listed is the earliest that we would potentially have an opportunity to be considered. What you have in your packet is a response to the question that was asked. So at this point, I just want to make it clear that the staff is not taking any action or any steps, because it was the request was to bring back information as what that process would look like. And so this is what we have laid out before you today. So if there was additional things that you want us to try to do, that would then be something that staff would need to be directed to do. But what you have here is what the process looks like, which, as you can see, is going to involve quite a bit. And just by way of information, as you saw there, doesn't mean that the people that currently do that job will be afforded the ability to do that job if the state takes this over as a part of that process.
And are you gathering the information regarding the fiscal impact statement? Which was the last sentence of the second paragraph? Says the proposed legislation would need.
So the answer to your question is no, sir, because that will be the me taking an action that I have not been directed to take as it relates to moving forward with a process of requesting or potentially acting on that as an approved motion. The motion was to receive information about the process, not to start the process of actually going down that road.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And just to add that, this is a two-pronged process. One, it does take a change of the statute. So the legislature would have to actually vote to change the statute, as well as before that even happened, budget with all of these delineated items would have to be provided to them. So all of that has to be done prior to any potential budget change. So that it's a significant process that would take a lot of staff time, just letting you know.
I would make a motion that we direct the administrator to begin to create the fiscal impact statement that we know we're going to need if we're seriously trying to get the state to pay for our Richland County CASA group. Motion dies for.
Oh, second. Sorry.
Okay. All right, we've got a motion and a second to direct the administrator to begin to gather the information needed for a fiscal impact statement to provide to the state legislative delegation. Any discussion further? Ms. Maggie?
And so just to clarify, this is coming out of a committee for recommendation, so it will go to full council
Yes,
before staff
recommendation to go to the
begins to
full
make sure
council.
full council is fully on board with that as well.
Correct. Okay. Ms. Carrillo?
Malinowski,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Joe Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item number 6, A and B, items pending analysis, no action required. We've gone through these before. You can read them. You can see by the double asterisk what staff is doing in attempting to get these items resolved. If there's no discussion on them, I'll entertain a motion for number 7.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. Ms. Carrillo?
Malinowski,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Joe Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. And Mr. Ratio, thanks for sitting in with us.